It's Thursday night, and that can mean only one thing. The professor is back in town. Brad Allen, we haven't done one of these in a couple of weeks.
Been too long, Sully. I've got a lot saved up for you, a lot to say here.
All right. Thursday night football comes from the Oakland Coliseum as the Chargers head in to take on the Oakland Raiders. Current betting here, a matchbook on the money line. You can back the Chargers at 1.89, the Raiders at 2.1. Main handicap here, the Raiders getting a 1.5 point start. You can back that currently in matchbook at even money at 2.0. The total is 48.5, slightly favouring the under here. Very much going to chat about this, Brad. But first of all, let's have a look at the kind of line movement. Like, look ahead line here, you had the Chargers as 2.5 point favourite. Early doors on Sunday, I think even before they had beaten the Packers, they were a 1.5 point dog. But that's totally flipped now, Prof. The move is on the Chargers. Are you in agreement or are you in disagreement?
I am pretty much in agreement here, and I'll possibly argue it's not gone far enough.
Okay.
So, I mean, if we think back to last year, the Chargers were 12-4, and it's arguable they were even underrated by that because they didn't have a home field. We know they don't have a home field. So last couple of years, they're 7-12 against the spread at home. Away from Los Angeles on the road, they're 14-6 against the spread. So it seems to me the market's not quite pricing it in that they have zero home field advantage. There's more Packers fans, more Denver fans every week. And then when they go away, they go, oh, well, they're not that good at home.
Yeah.
So then they don't price in the fact that they're actually a much better team than they appear away. So basically last year I think they're a very good team. Now this year they've been pretty much average by a lot of metrics, but they've been missing so much talent, and they're getting a lot of it back, if you ask me. So it's like Melvin Ingram's missed a lot of games, like last week against the Packers. Him and Bosa just destroyed this Packers offensive line, which is one of the best in the league. They were just all over them. Then you've got Hunter Henry back. You've got Melvin Gordon actually healthy, playing well. You've got Russell Okung back at left tackle. He's made a huge difference the last couple of games. And it just seems to me like this is now the team that was there last year. They're still missing their safeties, who will probably be back in the next couple of weeks. But this is suddenly, again, a double-digit win team rather than the team we've seen so far this year.
What do you make of Ken Whisenhunt out as offensive coordinator? Is that going to give them much of a spark? It seemed to against the Packers on Sunday night.
Yeah, it was interesting. It did seem to give them that. So Rivers was 10.5 yards per attempt, very effective. They ran the ball 36 times for about 158 yards. He gave Gordon 12 rushes. He gave Gordon 20 rushes, Eckler 12. They looked to be a little bit more lively, as you kind of said. They were snapping the ball more quickly, about 2 seconds quicker per snap. They were rushing to the line. Eckler said, we wanted to just get to the line and run more plays. The game had the second most snaps of any Chargers game this year. They were trying to keep the defense on the field, stop them substituting out, and keep that in their favor, tire them out. So it did seem to be a bit more vibrant rather than the Chargers of old, who just literally just milk the clock to the last second, snap the ball. And that gives the defensive an advantage as well, just because they know, well, he has to snap the ball now, because otherwise they're going to get a penalty.
Let me tell you where I'm on this one, Prof. Right, you made a pretty salient point there regards to the pace being picked up. So pace of play is one I really do look at. Football Outsiders do some pretty good metrics there. First half pace of play in the league, the Raiders are 30th. The Chargers, the wrong way around. Chargers are 30th. The Raiders are 27th. Full game Chargers 24th. Oakland are 27th as well. So I always look at these angles with two teams that, drain the clock, and we saw it on Sunday as well. Now, we were on the over with the Raiders and Lions on Sunday. That got up. I think that was a good deal of that was due to the Lions pushing the envelope pretty early. Raiders really want to run the ball, and they're probably going to do it here. So I'm kind of thinking, I know you're in different opposite sides of this one, but I still very much like the under here. I like the first half under, small bit more than the full game total. I really want 24.5. It's not quite there yet. It may get there. It's 23.5 right now, and that's the way I want to play it. I think Oakland come out here. They try to run the ball down the Chargers' throat, and I think they do it as well because they do know that the Chargers have the offense to put it up to them. The Raiders, pass defense, and I know you're probably going to get to this in your props in a while, is pretty brutal. Their rush defense isn't so bad, but everyone is throwing on the Raiders. So that is my only worry there. It's not a massive play for me. But, Prof, I love a first half under. I haven't done one in ages, and it just seems Thursday game, offenses have had less time to practice for this. Just get the sense in the divisional aspect as well that this first half could be a kind of a 10-7 kind of game. But go on, you're gonna go in the opposite direction here in this one.
I don't want to go. So I had an offer up at under 49 earlier this week, but the more I've dug into it, I've kind of talked myself out of it, and I'm not betting the total. I'll probably lean to the over. I would say the first half total, I'd be concerned it's a little bit priced in. It's kind of 23.5, which would obviously be more like 47, and it's currently 48.5.
Yeah.
So they have shaded it that way initially, and I would be concerned. I think the Chargers are I think they have possibly picked up the pace a bit more. They were doing a little bit more no huddle, as I said, and B, I just think they're going to be very efficient. As you can point out, the Raiders probably got 29th ranked pass defense by Football Outsiders. The stat I was talking about yesterday, this QB hit rate when adjusted for offense, Raiders are dead last in the NFL. Then Chargers have got their left tackle back. They've got these weapons back. They've got Mike Williams, Hunter Henry, Austin Eckler, Melvin Gordon. And I just don't think the Raiders have anyone that can stop them. I just see the Chargers being very efficient here. And if they do score 20 in the first half, it is going to force the Raiders to come out a little bit of their pace. And then suddenly it's, we'll get to the Raiders' offense perhaps in a bit, but they're going to score some points, I would have said, and I just think the Chargers are going to be very efficient. So I've not bet the total. I think it's broadly fair. I
was far more bullish about this. Like 10 minutes before recording, we were chatting to each other on WhatsApp, and then you started listing off, and okay. I can see your point, and look, I suppose I'm looking at season-long stats here, but let's talk about the other metric here, because the Chargers' defense looked exceptionally good against the Packers. What they allowed just 2 of 11 third downs against, Packers offense has been pretty potent. And obviously we talked about on the main podcast, it was a bit of a letdown kind of scenario for the Packers traveling out to LA. They may have been looking ahead to the Panthers this weekend. But look, Chargers defense just looks really good right now.
It does. I was very impressed by the way they played, because that Packers offensive line, as I said, it is one of the very best in the league. It should travel, looked like Rodgers was getting really comfortable, and they just shut them down completely. I think it was the fewest yards any Aaron Rodgers-led offense has ever had at halftime. They had under 100 yards through 3 quarters. So what can the Raiders do here? There's a couple of big questions here. Is Rodney Hudson, the centre, and the right tackle, Trent Brown, they're both questionable. And basically, if they do both play, I would probably back the over, because I can see them having success. So Hudson's backup is awful. He's got like a 0.2 grade from PFF out of 100, almost as bad as you can get. So it's going to be key to look out for those two. Now, the other thing, I tweeted out this story yesterday by Stephen Ruiz from USA Today. He's a very good writer. Now, you've probably seen a lot of hype about Derek Carr this season, how much better he's playing, and he kind of looked into this a bit more. And basically what he found, that Carr is one of only 3 quarterbacks this year whose basically his success rate, his EPA under pressure, is actually better than his EPA without pressure. Now, a lot of people go, yeah, that sounds like a good thing, right? But the passer rating under pressure is not stable, whereas passer rating without pressure is stable. So he's doing well in the random stat, but without pressure, where that's the more predictive stat. He's like, I think he's put him 20th or worse.
So it means to me he probably struggles against zone rather than man.
I do not have numbers on that, but what it suggests is that he's kind of overperforming. We would expect him to regress to his stats without pressure, which he's not very good at basically this season, despite. So he put up these numbers currently, but I would expect regression, and especially with this pass rush and this defense is improving. There is, especially, and again, if he's not going to have this right tackle and his centre, I think we could see him struggle. But we're not sure about that, which is why my bet sort of for the game in total will be the Chargers team total over. Probably average line is about 24 and a half.
This has already been well hit on Matchbook. It's almost like you bet this already, Prof. 1.78. Now this is a key number here, 23.5, and you look at the Raiders team total is 24.5, and obviously that's shading well under 1.72, but the over on 23.5 at the time of recording is a 1.78, and obviously those team totals, they're kind of, they're essentially manufactured and priced with the previous line. So yeah, that's such a key number, Prof. 23.5, isn't it?
Yeah, honestly, before I looked at it, I thought I would bet anything over 27.5, and I was quite surprised to see it that low. Team totals are generally less efficient than obviously the side total. As you say, they're kind of derived from the early market, and there's much less money hammering them into shape. So I would say they're softer. I generally don't like to.
Why do you like the Chargers team total over maybe the money line? The money line currently 1.89.
I'll ease that uncertainty around the offensive line. If those two are out, then I like Chargers -1.5. But just as it stands currently, they're both questionable. I've searched on Google and Twitter, and nobody seems to know. It does seem a genuine game time decision. So I'd rather just have, I think the Chargers will move the ball and score. So we'll stick with that.
Before we move on to the player props, talk to me just about that 1.5, because, we did this a couple of weeks ago where the Rams were in Seattle to play the Seahawks. You backed, was it the Seahawks -2.5?
Yeah.
When you could have backed them on the money line at 1.8. And I'm not having a pop, I'm not having a go here, but just explain the thought process for that for maybe someone who isn't kind of aware of, but all right, I'll be straight up, Prof. If I look at the money line at 1.89 and there's a point spread there 1.5 at 1.96, chances are I'm going to be that bit more conservative and bet the money line. But what's your thinking about it to maybe not do that?
See, my broad philosophy is avoid paying the juice. It's my view that it's the juice that kills you. It's paying, so to win 200 instead of 240 on the money line, then you're maybe paying 205 with the -1.5, and it's that 15 quid which I find adds up. Now there is charts you can go NFL point calculator, it will tell you the exact value, and I've not actually done that for this game, so you can go and check what is the actual. One of them will be like 0.5% better than the other, but just my broad philosophy is pay less juice.
All right, okay, I can understand that. I see it. Let's move on to the player props. You like a whole pile of Chargers here. It's pretty much what you said. Yeah. So let's talk me through a few of these. You like both running backs here. Melvin Gordon, obviously coming back into the fold last week in the week previous. Austin Eckler is 26.5 over him. Melvin Gordon, like I said, 52.5. You also, let's just stick with those two guys first of all. You like the both overs on both Chargers running backs.
Yeah. So as I say, they were running more plays, which is great, which we like for overs, and B, there seemed to be a genuine commitment to the run. 36 rushes, as I say. So Gordon, well, let's start with Eckler because I think that's probably the worst price on the board here. When Gordon came back, Ken Wisenhunt basically said, Eckler, you're no longer running the ball, which is why I think this is down at 26. Well, this new chap, Shane Steichen, he came in, he gave Eckler 12 carries last week, right? Now, if we assume 4.5 yards a carry is quite efficient, we need 6 carries to get over this line right here. So, I think there's quite a bit of margin in this. I would have said it's about 40 odd. So that would be my favourite play, the Eckler over. Then the Gordon one again. There's two things here. It looked to me like he was getting up to speed at last. A lot of players, they miss training camp and they come back there rusty, and he was awful the first 3 games he played. He was averaging 2.3 yards a touch. I don't think he forced a missed tackle for weeks, and he came out and said, "I will never miss training camp again. I'm behind the ropes." But this week, for the first time, he looked to be sharp again. He was breaking tackles, he was hurdling over people, and he looked to me to be properly back. And again, he got 20 touches. We're going to chop a little bit off that because they're probably not going to be leading the whole way. Although I suspect they might be. But a 50 for a lead back who can project for 15 touches, he's going to go way over this number here.
It's a low number. I know the Raiders, statistically wise, their deep rush defense, I think, is 6th or 7th in the league. But that's not a big number to clip. That's not like someone. Look, I mean, like even Brandon or Josh Jacobs in the Raiders said, who, by the way, has been great. He's offensive rookie. He's favored for that for a reason. He's 83.5. There's a massive difference there, probably, isn't there?
Yeah. I didn't know what to do with that one because, I do think he will get a lot of the ball. But it seems to me these two Chargers numbers are based on how few plays and basically based on Wizenhunt numbers, and there's a good chance that they've changed their philosophy.
Yeah. Kenny Wiz is out the door, so all bets are off, including my first half under, by the way. But I just, even when you're talking here, I've actually talked myself out of it. So, yeah, but that's a good thing. That's good. So, two receivers you like with the Chargers. Keenan Allen is logged in there at 68.5, and Hunter Henry is in at 64.5.
Yeah.
I presume, you can pass all day on the Raiders, and this is why you're looking this way.
Yeah, exactly. As we said, 29th against the pass earlier. So we'll start with Allen. He's had the 5th most air yards of any receiver in the NFL over the last 5 games, and he's going to be going up against LaMarcus Joyner here, who's allowing 78% catch rate, which is one of the worst in the league. So we've got a very efficient receiver getting a lot of targets, a lot of air yards against a poor corner. I just based on some of the metrics, like target share, things like that, I made this number 80. So I think some nice value on the over.
Okay, one for the Raiders. You're liking, and this is one I like too, by the way. Derek Carr under 248.5, currently 1.91 a matchbook.
Yeah, so I've spoken about the fact that he is probably going to regress somewhat just based on these numbers he's doing under pressure. And then we know they are committed to the run. The Chargers' strength is the pass defense. It is Ingram, P.C. Howard on the outside, Joey Bosa, and then they are probably going to be missing Brandon Mebane and Denzel Perryman, who are basically the run pluggers up the middle. So if the Raiders are going to have any success, it's going to be running the ball, not passing the ball. So, yeah, that's why we like Carr.
I totally agree with that. And, you look at this John Gruden offense, it's very much still a West Coast offense. They don't really get that vertical. I don't really see the deep threat. They've got some good options there with Darren Waller, Terrell Williams, and Hunter Renfrow and these guys. But I just don't see that explosive, that kind of Tyreek Hill kind of player that will stretch the field for them. Right. New customers, you might not know this, Prof, but new customers on Matchbook get a £10 refund on their first bet if it loses. Obviously, if you follow the professor, you won't have too many losing bets, but sometimes we do have losses. So, Prof, let's play a little game here. Let's have a £10 mythical free bet here, and let's have a look at the touchdown markets. So we did our previous one. We did Kansas City. On the road to Denver. We had Royce Freeman in that. If I gave you a £10 mythical free bet, Prof, who would you be betting here? I'm thinking it could be Austin Eckler if you're kind of thinking that way.
I'm probably going Keenan Allen. I'm thinking the Chargers are going to pass early and then set up these running backs later. And been through the matchup, been through his target share. I think he has a good chance to get the end zone early.
All right, 9.0 currently a matchbook. I'm going to go with Hunter Renfrow. He seems to be getting a few looks from Derek Carr recently. Came back with 17.0 at matchbook. Loved this guy in college at Clemson, by the way, when Deshaun Watson was throwing the ball. But just when it's that kind of bet, if you're having a £10 free bet, that's something I'll be just looking at, those kind of ones. Prof, by the way, I've come up with a good free bet. Or not a free bet, my best bet, which we will get to know. But look, okay, give me your best bet on the main games. Give me your best prof even.
So Chargers team total over 24.5, and then we best bet for the props will be Keenan Allen over 68.5.
Okay, my best bet under 24.5 on the team total for the Raiders. See what I did there, Prof? I've come at it from a different angle.
I like it.
It's a key number still, 24.5. Slide in that under. What is it, 1.8 at matchbook currently? Yeah, I know I've got to give the juice there, Prof, but look, it's all about the number. I don't think I'd like that bet as much if it was 23.5.
That's a refurbed Chargers defense, I think, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. I'm called a bit of an audible on myself during this recording, Prof. So What are you going to do? Like, I think I like that angle anyway. Right, that is it from us. That's Thursday night in the books. Don't forget, we have a very extensive Week 10 preview with Brad, the Whale Capper, Drew Dinsick, and Adam Chernoff. We preview 5 games. That's available now on your preferred podcast app or on our YouTube channel. Best of luck with Thursday night bets, and we'll be back again next week.